Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Lori Finlay, and we're here to talk with her about her first book. Lori Finlay is a nurse practitioner and certified health coach, and you can find out more about Lori Finlay and her wonderful work at her website, lorifinlay.com. Her new book is called Create the Vitality You Crave, Epigenetics 101, Unlock Your Healing Power. Welcome, Lori Finlay.
Thank you. It's so great to be here again, Catherine.
So, Lori Finlay here at the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. Several years ago, I interviewed a gentleman about epigenetics, and epigenetics is in the subtitle of your book. So, for our audience, can you explain how would you define epigenetics?
Okay, great question. A lot of people still say, what is that, right? But basically, epi means on top of, right? So on top of your genes and your genetic wiring. I'm a musician, and so I like to use the example of or analogy of a grand piano. You look at the grand piano sitting on the stage, you've got the frame and all the wires, you've got a keyboard, and you've got foot pedals and things. And yet you don't know what's going to come out of that piano. How will the piano express itself? Is it Bach or Billy Joel or Beethoven or Beyonce? We just don't know. It takes an external influence, right, to tell those genes, or in this case, those wires on the piano, what to do. And there are, in some cases, I know for me and some of my family members, we're actually missing a wire. We're missing a gene, which, you could play that note on the piano and nothing happens. It's just not. Or we can, in the case of our genes, we can turn off good genes, healthy genes, and turn on bad genes. On the piano, basically equivalent that to the note could be either really flat, so it's not functioning up to par, or really sharp, it's over functioning. So, we still need to be careful. You could just take a whole bunch of supplements, for an example, B12, to upgrade your methylation, but you can over methylate. So you've still got to be careful. So the bottom line is the way we think, the way we behave, right? What we say, what we eat, the air we breathe, the relationships we're in, all of it impacts the expression of our genes,
So,
whether we like it or not.
So, in a nutshell, for our audience, it's about how our environment affects and causes the expression of our pre-existing genetic conditions.
Right. Our genes are not our destiny. So even though we've got this family history of such and such, we don't have to be victim to our genes. We can turn off bad genes and turn on healthier genes or upgrade them. Even if we have poor wiring, we can have a significant impact on the expression of our genes.
Yes. And here at the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio, I'm always talking about how your environment is the most powerful factor. And your environment includes how you live, where you work, what you do, the words that come out of your mouth, the food
Yes,
that goes into your body, the people around you, the energy around you.
absolutely.
So you just published, congratulations, Create the Vitality You Crave. What inspired you to write your first book?
What inspired me was honestly my own healing journey, because I'd been through a long, hard healing journey. And in spite of two graduate degrees, in nursing and dealing with sickness medicine for decades and then studying, it wasn't until I had my own health crash that I had to start studying functional medicine and start understanding my own genetic anomalies or genetic traits and variants to understand why my mother died at the age of 25 and why my sister and I both had significant health challenges hit us in our early 40s. And, so to gain control over my health and not be a victim to my health anymore. It's kind of like that external locus of control versus internal locus of control. I think that most of us are trained in the Western world that our medical systems have the external locus of control and we just rely upon them. Whereas if we, understand really the power that we have when it comes to epigenetics, what that means, how much control we have with even our thoughts and our words, not to mention our food and the air we breathe, and little, simple things like biohacking that we can do every day. That, I wanted to take my journey and what I'd learned and impact the lives of others and empower others. So that's why I wrote it.
So, Lori Finlay, what does the science of epigenetics explain about how much control we have over our health?
Well, that's a great point. MD Anderson Cancer Clinic came out in 2008 and said that only 5 to 10% of chronic disease is by bad genes, caused by bad genes, right? For our listeners, I put that in air quote, right? That we have that much control over our health and our health destiny. So that's what epigenetics means. We've got that much control, at least 90 to 95% control. Whereas we are not taught that in our modern world. Like just rely upon your doctors. They'll come in and diagnose you. They'll give you a prescription, and they're not looking for cures. They're looking for customers for life, right? Which is often the case.
So, in your new book, Lori Finlay, you talk about the principles of creation. What are the principles of creation?
Well, the reason I mentioned this and focused on it so strongly was, first of all, that I think I certainly in the past had worked with the powers of manifestation and intention, and yet I didn't feel like I had a full grasp of it when I could wrap it into the powers of creation, and use see, say, feel, and do. Like doing things is just the tip of the iceberg. The physical is just the tip of the iceberg. And I found year after year when I was making New Year's goals, right, that I would put that goal out there, well, I'm going to do this. But until I really started focusing on what my future self looked like, who I wanted my future self to be, right? To become and to be, then I could start looking at, okay, and see myself, right? Envision and see myself and start saying and, using that mental. So I write in the book, about physical, emotional, well, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical health, and how they're all so incredibly inextricably combined, and we need all of them to have true real identity, or true vitality is what I'm trying to say, true vitality. And with that, when you use those principles of creation, the C is the spiritual creation. The say is that mental creation, the mental aspect of it, the mental health aspect, and ties in there, right? The physical is obviously the do, right? But you've also, emotionally, it's what how you're feeling. So I incorporate now into my world, making sure that I'm doing things to tap into the see, the say, the feel, and the do every morning, right? As I am creating my day. And that empowers me to actually follow through on the doing, the physical implementation of what I want my life and my health to look like. So that's why I think it's so important.
So, going back to these principles of creation, and in your view, there's four of them. We have to see what we want. We have to use affirmations or speak out loud what we want. We have to feel into what we want to create, and then we have to do the actions. Can you give an example of how can we use the four principles of creation to create better health?
Sure. For instance, it could just be about starting a new exercise regime, right? A new exercise habit. If I can see myself being able to play with have the flexibility to play with my grandchildren, or if I want to, let's say take a really huge goal. If I want to hike the top of a 14er here out in the Intermountain West, right? If I want to have that as my goal, I can see myself and my future self at the top of that mountain, right? victory, right? I made it to the top of this mountain. And in the process and the journey and the joy of that journey, I have felt phenomenal, right? Regaining and increasing my vitality. So if I can see that spiritual creation, this is what I want to do. And I can say to myself every morning, I have incredible vitality. I love, hiking, right? I love my daily aerobic fitness and love increasing my aerobic capacity. Those are things that I can say every day, right? And the emotion, I can add those incredible emotions. Like I am overjoyed to be at the top of this mountain and see all these incredible vistas because I made it, right? I accomplished this for myself. And then as a part of that, like the doing, for me, in my experience, the doing has been so easy or so much easier because of the previous steps. The doing is the accountability and the follow-up to what I've already created, right? Does
Thank
that
you.
make sense? Okay, great.
Absolutely. Now, in my work as a medical intuitive healer, I talk about you can really only feel as good as your cells are healthy, right? So
Correct.
really the importance of cellular health. In your new book, you have an entire section about optimizing cellular health. What are some basic steps that you advise in your book to optimize cellular health?
I'm so glad you brought that up because, in our world of chronic disease, often there's just a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, right? And I was labeled with that. I never spoke it. I never, ever, ever used those words until after I'd healed my body because I didn't want to label myself with that, right? But so often physicians just, say chronic fatigue syndrome. No, it's mitochondrial dysfunction. It's something at the cellular level that's not working properly. According to renowned cardiovascular surgeon Gregory Brevetti, says like there's only three things there is, to cellular health. There's air, water, and glutathione. Like glutathione is our cellular protector. It is the longevity molecule, and it decreases by 30, well, it decreases by 10% every decade after the age of 20. So by the time we're in our 40s and 50s, like we only got like 50% left, right? And we therefore don't have as much cellular energy and or protection to ward off toxins or protection for antioxidation, right? And in immune support and anti-inflammatory support. So all of that can help optimize our cellular health. So
Okay,
those are
and
things that we have to
Lori
pay attention
Finlay,
to.
you
Yeah.
and I understand what glutathione is. Many in our audience will not. Can you explain for our audience what exactly is glutathione?
Thank you. It is a tripeptide, which means it's three proteins, three amino acids that are combined together that it should be inside the cell. It's made inside the cell. And again, it drops dramatically over, our lifespan. And as fast and steep as it drops is fast and steep like an inverse ratio to the diseases of aging. So we might see someone that is really abusing their health with tobacco and alcohol or excessive sports, like a professional athlete or something, that their glutathione levels may drop faster and steeper, and they will experience the diseases of aging much faster and steeper. It could be Parkinson's or decreased cognitive ability, or it could, for some of us, just be aches and pains, and we have brain fog in the afternoon. But with that said, glutathione is critically important for every single cell in the body. And so for me, that's one of the most important things we can do, right? Again, if Dr. Brevetti says we need air and hydration and glutathione, we need to breathe nice and deep with, deep diaphragmatic breathing. I know you focus on that a lot in your work, right? We need to make sure that we really hydrate our cells. If I'm ever tired, it's like, oh, wait, let's go back to Niagara Falls and the kind of power that comes out of Niagara Falls, right? Like we need power and we need hydration to power our cells as well. So good, clean, filtered water can make a difference. And then glutathione support. But there's other things like coenzyme Q10 and magnesium and omega-3 fatty acids. Those kind of things can really optimize and support our cellular health as well.
And for our audience, if someone's listening and they wanted to start supplementing with glutathione, as you know, there's different kinds of supplements, liposomal, liquid, pills. What is the best way to take glutathione?
Well, the one that I like the most, right, and I've been using myself is actually it creates and supports an endogenous production. So inside the cell, intracellular glutathione. It's called Cellgevity. It's around the world. You can check that out on my website. Whatever country you're in, if you didn't have access to that product made by Max International, then I would most likely go with a liposomal glutathione. Just keep in mind that it is a big molecule. It's a big molecule because it's those three amino acids. It's got to break down and then go intracellular to recombine and make glutathione. So that's why I like the product that I take, but I know that there are many countries out there that don't have access to it yet. The next one that I would choose would be liposomal.
All right. So, in your view, the three keys to optimizing cellular health are oxygen through breathing, clean water, and glutathione.
Right.
And Lori Finlay, you very generously put together a download where people can read a chapter of your new book. Will you share with our audience how they can read a chapter of your new book?
Sure. You go to the title of the book. So it's a landing page, createthevitalityyoucrave.com/UK health. Again, that's createthevitalityyoucrave.com/UK health. And you can download the free chapter 1 of my book. And you'll also get a significant discount on my hormonal quizzes. I've got 8 different quizzes that you can take with all kinds of information and education to help support your hormonal balance as well.
Very generous. And with that, let's take a break and listen to a message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. We're listening to the one and only Lori Finlay talk about her new book, Create the Vitality You Crave. We'll be right back. Lori Finlay, author of Create the Vitality You Crave. Many people, when they want to be healthier, they look on the internet and they find some detox protocol. What I find as a medical intuitive healer, many people are not actually ready to detox. There may be, you may need to build up your energy before you can detox.
Correct.
When is it appropriate for people to detoxify their body, and how would you recommend people begin a healthy, safe detox protocol?
That is so great that you bring that up because yes, I didn't understand this principle and started, getting detoxification from other healthcare providers and crashed, absolutely crashed because I was dumping all of these toxins out of my cells, but my body wasn't ready to release them. So, in my line of medicine and functional health, they call them opening the channels, the detoxification channels of, your skin, right? Your lymph system, your kidneys, your liver, like opening up all of those and making sure that they are functioning optimally before you start dumping things from the cells through those, channels. So if all the doors are clogged, right? If all of those channels are not working effectively, you can really feel gross. So, that's one of the reasons why I got an infrared sauna 20 years ago. I was not sweating. That detoxification pathway was shut down. And so I started, doing an infrared sauna 3 or 4 times a week, right? And you can do different supplementation to improve your liver function, even a castor oil pack on your liver at nighttime, right? Castor oil pack for 8 hours, even 1 hour, but I sleep with it for 8 hours over my liver can help detoxify the liver. And certainly there are supplements and juicing and things that can support that. And, healthy nutrition can support liver detoxification, but also lymph, right? I mean, just exercising and walking or being on a little rebounder. When you're on a little trampoline or a rebounder, that stimulates lymph flow and can stimulate detoxification. Having a dry brush that you use for dry brushing in the shower, or, I also go for a lymph massage on a monthly basis. At times when I've had other challenges, I've gone twice a month, but everything, to support detoxification. And honestly, it is now a daily commitment. No, I think no longer in our world, because of the amount of toxins that we're bombarded on a regular basis, we can't just glibly say, oh, I'm going to do a detox every 6 months. It's time for my liver detox at 6 months later, right? That it really does need to be more of a daily, consistent type of program that we integrate in our lives to achieve optimal vitality.
Great information. And I agree with you that we want to open the detox channels. Can you explain for our audience what exactly are these detoxification channels and how can we go about opening them?
Well, as I had said, you're looking at the skin, you're looking at, your kidneys, your liver, your lymph, and some of the things I've already mentioned, right? To get on a rebounder, a mini trampoline, or get out and walk and exercise, or even in the middle of the day when you are perhaps at a desk, right? Fortunately, in our world today, there are more desks that you can raise and stand and work during the day. But just standing there in one position is not as good as occasionally, like every 15 or 20 minutes, stopping and marching in place. Then you're actually stimulating your lymph right at your hip, right? Stimulating when you're flexing those hip muscles. So that can really make a difference. Exercise is really important. Again, sweating. The sweating in a sauna, even if you can't have an infrared sauna, at least getting in a sauna and sweating is good. The benefit of an infrared sauna is that about 80% of what you sweat is water and 20% is toxins, compared to a regular sauna where it might be 97% is, just sweat and maybe just 3 or 4% toxins. So an infrared sauna can really boost your detoxification. So that helps your skin, right? Again, with the lymph, the rebounder, the lymph dry brushing or lymph massage. With the liver, there are certain supplements that you can use. Even dandelion tea every single morning can be great to support liver detoxification. Broccoli seed extract. Calcium D-glucarate really supports liver detoxification. TMG, a few of these other fancy long words. Your cruciferous vegetables will really support liver detoxification and hormone metabolism, which is really very, very good. And of course, when it comes to your kidneys, make sure you're drinking a lot. Hydration is critically important, and good, clean water coming from no plastics, right?
Okay. Now, I'm so glad, Lori Finlay, that you brought up water. And I have to share a couple of stories. One of my neighbors, I'm in the city of Atlanta. She spent hundreds of dollars and had our city water scientifically tested. This is the water that comes out of our tap.
Right.
And she shared that her tests with our neighbors, and it's incredibly toxic. Even once I saw that, I was like, I'm not even going to give this water to my dog, right?
Right.
And so many of us live in large urban areas where our city water is not safe. And then you pointed out the challenges of then drinking water out of filtered water out of bottled water. And then I have to end with a final personal story because I just had a major plumbing job on my 84-year-old house. And the plumber showed me what was in the old pipes. It was just beyond disgusting. And
Exactly.
so, health professionals such as you and I can tell our clients drink clean water, but the likelihood of getting clean water out of your tap is very, very low.
Right.
And then, then we have challenges about microplastics. I did another show where the average person eats about the equivalent of a credit card worth of plastic in your body every single day. So how can we go about finding clean water to keep us healthy?
That's a great, great, great question. I think, first of all, we need to start with, right? making sure we can get access to some kind of filtration. And there are multiple things on the market today, right? Even a pitcher, even a Brita pitcher is better than nothing, right? There are other water pitchers on the market. Zero water is another good one that you can use. That's like a basic thing, $150 to $100 to get just a water pitcher that you can use to filter your water. I am currently visiting someone's home that doesn't have the water filtration that I'm used to in my home. So, I've had my little zero water filter, and I've got my little hydrogen bottle that I'll dump it in there and get the hydrogen water to support me, right, until I can get back to my filtration system that's underneath the sink. So I have, a reverse osmosis, really clean water filtration system. One of these days, I would like to get the big the good hydrogen system throughout my entire house, but that's not a possibility right now. So I literally have a little tiny bottle that I'll pour it in, press the button, get the hydration in my water, and then drink it, right? So there's little things that we can do that's, very, very minimal in cost that will dramatically improve the condition of our water, right? And again, don't drink out of plastic containers, like ever, particularly if they're in a hot place. Well, I won't even go out. I take my stainless steel water bottle wherever I go, because even if I'm out at a public event, a networking event, whatever it might be, I don't want to drink the water that's in that bottle because it may not have been sitting in my car getting hot, but you can bet it was in the Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola truck, the delivery truck getting
Yeah.
hot and leaching those plastics. So I just make sure I always take my filtered water wherever I go. So that's a good start.
Yeah, good information. And again, I think this is a real blind spot. I've had clients literally who've gone all over the world, spending literally hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get well. And it all boiled down to the quality of the water they were drinking.
Yes.
It's really interesting. So, you want to figure out how can I get access to clean water for myself and my entire family. So, Lori Finlay, you mentioned that you wrote this book from your own personal journey. So, what was the hardest part for you of getting well?
The hardest part for me initially was fighting the conventional Western medical system, that they don't understand that the body is, all four bodies, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. And we're not just an ology, right? In our Western world that I was trained in as a nurse practitioner, you're divided into systems, cardiology and neurology and gastroenterology and rheumatology and all these ologists, right? So that was my initial hurdle to overcome, right? Was finding a partner, finding a collaborative partner that understood functional medicine and someone that I could literally create partnership with and help me to sort out and find out what was going on. And then, as I went through each challenge of detoxification and healing my body, but still there was this underlying thing that we could not figure out what was going on. Why was I still hitting the wall? Why was there still so much fatigue, even in spite of getting rid of all of the mercury amalgams and getting rid of all the heavy metals and years of detoxification to accomplish that? Why, after overcoming Epstein-Barr, did I still feel horrible? And my white count and everything else was back to normal. Why was I still so fatigued? Well, it's because I had black mold toxicity and no one had ever tested. Like 15 years of fatigue and no one had ever tested for black mold. So I'm here to tell your listeners that if you've got fatigue and if you've got some heavy metal toxicity, you need to make sure you're testing for mold as well, mold and mycotoxins, because they are often inextricably linked, and it's being missed so often. And you can do that with a simple, urine test. There's urine tests, stool tests, hair tests. There are some companies out there that have phenomenal testing, and it's a very, very serious problem. In fact, the World Health Organization says that so many of us live in toxic environment. Millions of us are living in toxic environments, and mold is one that is a silent killer and hard to find unless we do the work.
Great information. And that goes back to what we were talking about before, environment being the most powerful factor. Now,
Right.
in my work as a medical intuitive healer, I always say I read what I call the 5 levels of healing: your physical body, your energetic body. Your energetic body includes your chakras, your acupuncture meridians, and the breath.
Yes.
Emotional, and emotions can shut down anything. Your mind, which is your thoughts and beliefs, right? And
Yes.
finally, what's happening on the soul level. So if you have dis-ease, it's always happening, always, always, without exception, on all 5 levels. And many of my clients are working really hard on one level, but there's like a blind spot, right? And that's where I come in. And I agree with you. There's blind spots for so many people. Parasites, right? Because lots of people have parasites.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Whether it's Borrelia that causes Lyme disease or actual worms and mold. And
Yes.
in England, it's cold and wet. In Atlanta, it's hot and wet. And you mentioned lab tests. A really simple way to test if you have mold is to get what's called a hydrometer, which measures humidity. And you can go on Amazon and buy something that measures humidity for about $10, $12. It's portable. You can move it around the house. And if your humidity is over 50%, you have mold.
Right. Yes.
And so, for example, here in Atlanta, the average mold count is always over 50% outside. The real question is it over 50% in your home?
Inside. Right.
Right? And I can remember I had a client, she was actually a nutritionist married to a medical doctor. So, a registered dietitian, years of experience, chronic fatigue. And the issue was that the bathroom was right next to her bedroom. There was no wall between the bathroom and the bedroom. And everyone loved their bathroom. So everyone would go in and take a shower or a bath, and all the humidity would spread into the bedroom. And she was basically sleeping in mold.
In mold.
In mold. So, with that, let's take a break and listen to a message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. We're listening to Lori Finlay talk about her new book, Create the Vitality You Crave. So, Lori Finlay, when I asked what was the hardest part of you getting well, you mentioned all these ologies. So, you are trained as a nurse practitioner, you have decades of experience in traditional medicine.
Yes.
And I happen to agree with Mother Teresa. She said, don't invite me to an anti-war rally. Invite me to a peace rally and I will come. And as a medical intuitive healer, I'm not anti anything or anyone. I tell everybody my brother's a doctor, my dad's a doctor, my grandfather was a doctor, my great grandfather was a doctor, my uncle was a doctor. If there's something that you need to get checked out by a doctor, I'll recommend that to a heartbeat. I've had clients in my office and I'll say, call your doctor from my office, get an appointment immediately, right? So
Right.
I drove a friend to the emergency room while he was having a heart attack. I was like, get in the car. We got to go right now. So you are trained in traditional medicine. How do you integrate traditional medicine and natural healing? How do you do that in your own life and your own practice?
Well, I start with every single day making sure that I am meditating and creating the day that I want to create, meditating and breathing with deep diaphragmatic breathing, right? And then incorporating my exercise, my movement, my hydration. I mean, I start the day with probably 32 ounces of good, clean, filtered, and now in my little hydrogen bottle in the last year, right, water, to make sure that I am optimizing my hydration and my cellular health. So I always start there. And then I take that next step, right, into looking at what kind of food am I putting in my body? What, as Michael Pollan says, if it's made in a plant, don't eat it. If it's a plant that's grown, if it comes from a plant that was grown, then go ahead and eat it. So I make sure that my nutrition is optimal. I start with, some blueberries, organic blueberries, and some organic walnuts in the morning because they're, according to some experts, they call them brain berries, right? I want to make sure that I get those two foods, early in the morning, and make sure that I get plenty of lots and lots of greens. So plenty of cruciferous vegetables, really good, high quality, cage-free, grass-fed, wild-caught proteins. Right. So I incorporate those every single day into my life, and take it to another level and making sure that those that I interact with on a daily basis are people that are uplifting, people that have a high energy, that are resonating at a high level, and really do all I can to increase my own resonance, right? Whether it's with breathing and prayers and meditation and essential oils and the food that I eat, right? Our food will help dictate where we are resonating at. I mean, period, will dictate the resonance of our body. And so I make sure that I'm doing those things. And again, trying to stay away from people and situations and environments that have a really low resonance. That's what I do.
Okay, great. And again, you're a traditional nurse and you're a health coach also, so you integrate those. Um, when you have clients who are afraid of natural healing, how do you talk to them?
Well, first of all, I think it's helpful to come to have a background in the traditional medicine, right? Where I can help them see, no, I understand what's going on with your physiology and your pathophysiology. And I'll share with them, this is the pathophysiology. This is the dis-ease process. And these are some things that we can do immediately to mitigate or to turn around or at least begin the healing process from that dis-ease, right? And then help them see. And that's frankly why I have 215 references in my book. I'm not just speaking off the cuff. There's 215 references of science and backing up what I'm saying here, right? So people can understand, oh, there really is that much science out there to back up all of these functional medicine, integrative medicine, energy medicine, modalities that traditional conventional Western medicine is not, are not teaching, is not sharing and are not sharing and teaching to the public.
Okay. Now, in your book, you have a chapter on biohacking. What is
Yes.
biohacking?
Biohacking is basically the ability of us controlling what comes into our body and what we're exposed to in the, in our environment. So I'd say epigenetics is that big overarching principle that we have the capacity to heal our body and turn off bad genes, turn on good genes. And the biohacking is how, right? The biohacking is how things that we can do every day. Now, I write about some fancy things like ozone therapy and PEMF and ozone therapy, PEMF, things such as also like, even the rebounder, other things such as stem cell therapy. Those are maybe some of the cutting edge things that people are doing nowadays, right? Cold plunges and saunas. But the things that we can do every single day in our own homes, simple things to biohack. Again, really good water. That's a biohack. Improving your glutathione support, even if it's making sure you get a lot more cruciferous vegetables that will help upgrade your glutathione production. Those are biohacks, right? Movement, that's a good biohack. And for heaven's sakes, sleep. Optimizing your sleep is also a form of biohacking. And as I've mentioned earlier, making sure that we stay away from toxic situations, toxic environments, toxic people, those are all biohacking techniques that we can do to protect ourselves and to control what's coming into our body and what we're getting out of our body.
Now, earlier in our discussion, you talked about you being a long-term fan of glutathione. Are there ways, as you know, many people don't want to take supplements or they
Right.
can't afford them or can't get access to them. Are there ways to raise our glutathiones without supplementation?
I think the most important thing that we can do to support our glutathione, well, two things. Get rid of the substances that are depleting our glutathione, right? And then making sure that we have lots and lots and lots of cruciferous vegetables to upgrade our glutathione. People don't realize that one of the number one things that they're doing that's depleting their glutathione is alcohol. I mean, completely demolishes and destroys, glutathione. It takes glutathione to metabolize the alcohol. And so if you're out metabolizing alcohol, you don't have the extra glutathione to, metabolize your estrogens, your potentially cancer-causing estrogens. You don't have glutathione to do the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting, cellular detoxification properties. So that's one of the, things, smoking, alcohol, drugs, toxic environments, all of those things just deplete your glutathione very, very quickly.
And you mentioned cruciferous vegetables. Share with our audience more about that
Okay.
and how we can include more in our diet.
Okay, so those cruciferous vegetables are things like broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage, right? Those kind of vegetables that are really important for us. I make sure, first of all, that I do not overcook them. The active ingredient, the molecular active ingredient that supports liver health is called indole-3 carbanols. And those IC3s, they call it for short, can be destroyed very quickly if we overheat the food, right? So here, I don't know in England, but here in the United States, if you go to a restaurant and you decide, I'm going to go for something healthy, let me get the broccoli, right? Excuse me, the roasted Brussels sprouts. Well, they come back and they're brown and crispy and they look like they're pretty much dead. Well, they are. They're dead of nutrition. You think you're eating something great, but it's killed all of those healthy indole-3 carbanols that support our liver detoxification. So make sure that you have, al dente, right? I actually, love to make a kale and Brussels sprout salad raw and sliver it really fine and have a healthy dressing, or a broccoli slaw salad, right, with some carrots and things to make a healthy broccoli slaw instead of even the cooked broccoli. So broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, all of those things, cabbages, those are your cruciferous vegetables that are really healthy.
Great information. So, Lori Finlay, final question. What what do you really want everyone to understand about your new book and epigenetics?
I want everyone to know that we've got way more power to heal our bodies than we've ever been taught before. That we can heal our bodies, that only 5 to 10% of chronic disease is caused by bad genes. And therefore, we can take responsibility and own our own health. I mean, so there's the trade-off. Oh, I guess I need to take responsibility. But the exciting part is I have control over my health. So I think that's the most important thing. I want people to understand that. I want them to be able to see these are the things that we are silent, that we are unaware of, that are sabotaging our health silently. And these are the things that we can do instead. Like, for instance, people don't understand the impact of EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, or Wi-Fi, or their cell phones constantly in their pocket, and how that's sabotaging their cellular health, how that's sabotaging the expression of their genes. It's like, really? And there's all kinds of things that we're unaware of that I want to share, that I have shared in the book, and then things that we can do to turn it around and to, again, unlock our healing power.
So Lori Finlay, will you share again where people can download a free copy of the first chapter of your new book?
Sure, thank you. So you can go to createthevitalityyoucrave.com and createthevitalityyoucrave.com/UK health. And from there, you will get a link to download chapter 1 for free and a link to Amazon if you want to buy the book, as well as a link for you to get a significant discount on all my hormonal quizzes. So I'm
That
thrilled to be here, and I hope that really blesses your your viewers and listeners.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today has been Lori Finlay talking about her new book, Create the Vitality You Crave, Epigenetics 101, Unlock Your Healing Power. And you can find out more at lorifinlay.com. And remember, you have the power to be as healthy and as vital and have as much energy as you choose. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a